Hi Oakwood friends, Emily here with another edition of Quarantunes. With everything that's kind of going on in the world, went from a pandemic to Black Lives Matter movement, protests, rioting, looting. Currently, I think those protests and everything are still going on. People are taking down statues. I know a lot of people feel very worried about their history being forgotten. So I thought this week it would be interesting to look at some events in history that are recorded in music. So some of these songs you might know, some of the stories you might know, or you'll catch some of the references. But this is History in Music Quarantunes edition. Enjoy. So for those of you who have been tuning into Quarantunes, you might know that my husband, Andrew, is actually from Australia. So in our house we have a pretty good mix of Australian and American music, some old, some new, some of everything. But one of his favorite bands of all time are called The Waves. And it's two girls who sing together. There's a male guitar player. It's pretty folksy. But this song he introduced me to is one of my absolute favorites, and it is about a real historic event in Australia. In 1945 and 1946, after World War II was finished and the Navy soldiers from America who were stationed in Australia were sent back to America, they found that actually a lot of these Navy soldiers had gotten married to Australian women. So the U.S. Navy paid for these war brides to travel from Western Australia, usually around Perth, all the way across the country to Sydney, and then from there all the way across the sea to America. These were called bridal trains. So this song is called Bridal Train, and the woman who wrote it, a member of the Waves, actually her grandmother was one of the women aboard one of these bridal trains. So it was deep in her family's history, and she said, I just can't help but wonder what they were thinking as they were going across the country. Just for reference, Australia is actually the same size as the continental United States. So this train would have been like going from Los Angeles all the way to the East Coast, I don't know, Atlanta, maybe a little further even. So it was probably a really long train ride for these women just to think about the lives that they were going to and the lives that they were leaving behind after World War II. So this is The Bridal Train by The Waves. The telegram arrived today. Well, it's time to catch the Monterey, 'cause the man I wed, he waits for me and the daughter that he's yet to see. The U.S. Navy beamed its message, will deliver brides on a one-way passage. It made big news across the nation. The bridal train leaves from Perth Station. All the girls around Australia married to a Yankee sailor. The fair is paid across the sea to the home of the brave and the land of the free. From west to east the young girls came, all aboard the bridal train. It was a farewell crossing over land. She is gone to meet her sailor man. And no time for sad goodbyes as she held her mother, as she cried and then waited there in the Frio rain to climb aboard the bridal train. She was holding a future in her hand, a faded photo of a man. Catch a sailor if you can. The war bride leaves her southern land. All the girls around Australia married to a Yankee sailor. The fare is paid across the sea to the home of the brave and the land of the free. From west to east the young girls came, all aboard the bridal train. It was a farewell crossing over land. She is gone to meet her sailing man. This is the story of those starry nights, through desert rain and city lights, through burning sun and driving rain. She wept aboard the bridal train. All the girls around Australia married to a Yankee sailor. The fair is paid across the sea to the home of the brave and the land of the free. From west to east the young girls came, all aboard the bridal train. It was a farewell crossing over land. She's gone to meet her sailing man. This next song is a smash hit, and it is also a super long song. It's 8.5 minutes in total. It is American Pie by Don McLean. The song references very often in it the day the music died, which was up until the song came out and he said that, they never called it that. So basically he coined the term, but it was the day in 1959 when a plane crashed and killed the singers Buddy Holly, the Big Bopper, and Ritchie Valens. The rest of the song, people have been guessing what it means for years. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of different interpretations and little tiny things that you could pick out of it. It is 8.5 minutes, so there's plenty packed into it. So McLean was only 13 when that plane crash happened, but he incorporated all kinds of different things from the 50s, 60s, and possibly even earlier as the World War II. It references some things from that era. In 2015, he auctioned off the meaning of the lyrics. So somebody does have it. Somebody paid $1.2 million to get the manuscripts. And it did confirm some things. For example, it talks about the king, which is, of course, Elvis. And it also references the jester, who he calls Bob Dylan, which is kind of interesting. It also, he confirmed that the song culminates with a near verbatim description of the death of Meredith Hunter at the Altamont Free concert 10 years after the plane crash that killed Holly Valens and Richardson. Enjoy American Pie. Try to pick out some of the words. I won't play all of the verses because 8.5 minutes is a very long time. But enjoy American Pie. A long, long time ago, I can still remember how that music used to make me smile. And I knew if I had my chance that I could make those people dance. Maybe they'd be happy for a while. But February made me shiver with every paper I delivered. Bad news on the doorstep. I couldn't take one more step. I can't remember if I cried when I read about his widowed bride. Something touched me deep inside the day the music died. Bye bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, "This'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die." Now for 10 years we've been on our own, and a moss grows fat on a rolling stone. But that's not how clenched in fist of rage. No angel born in hell could break that Satan's spell. And as the flames climb high into the night, the light, the sacrificial rite, I saw Satan laughing with delight. The day the music died, and he was singing bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. I met a girl who sang the blues. I asked her for some happy news. She just smiled and turned away. I went down to the sacred store where I'd heard the music years before. The man there said the music wouldn't play. And in the streets the children screamed, the lovers cried, and the poets dreamed. Not a word was spoken, the church bells all were broken, and three men I admire most, the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. They caught the last train for the coast. The day the music died, they were singing bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing this'll be the day that I die. Bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. They were singing bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing this'll be the day that I die. This next song, released by the Beatles in 1968, was actually the B-side of their other famous song, Hey Jude. This song is called Revolution. It was inspired by political protests in early 1968 regarding the Vietnam War. There's also a slight nod to Chairman Mao in it, and it came out and it was received pretty controversially, especially by the far left side. But Lennon, who wrote the song, was adamant that it needed to be on there and he needed to say these things. So this is Revolution by the Beatles. You say you want a revolution, well you know we all want to change the world. You tell me that it's evolution, well you know we all want to change the world. But when you go talk about destruction, don't you know that you can count me out? You know it's gonna be alright. You know it's gonna be alright. You know it's gonna be alright. You say you got a real solution, well you know we'd all love to see the plan. You ask me for a contribution, well you know we're all doing what we can. But if you want money life of people with minds that hate. All I can tell you, brothers, you have to wait. You know it's gonna be alright. You know it's gonna be alright. You know it's gonna be alright. Say you won't change the Constitution. Well, you know we all want to change your head. You tell me it's the institution. Well, you know you better free your mind instead. But if you go carrying pictures of Chairman Mao, you ain't gonna make it with anyone anyhow. You know it's gonna be alright. You know it's gonna be alright. You know it's gonna be alright. This next bit of history is maybe one that you might have heard of. The song was released in August 1967 by Gordon Lightfoot. It is called The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. The reason you might have heard of it is because it was about a boat that was actually wrecked on Lake Superior on November 10th, 1975. It was coming from Wisconsin, some mill in Wisconsin, that's what it says, and on its way to Cleveland when it was wrecked. So it is a true story. It's right in our neck of the woods, and it's a pretty catchy tune, good songwriting. This is The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. The legend lives on from the Chippewa down on the big lake they call Gitchagumi. The lake, it is said, never gives up her dead when the skies of November turn gloomy. With a load of iron or 26,000 tons more than the Edmund Fitzgerald weighed empty. That good ship and crew was bone to be chewed when the gales of November came early. The ship was the pride of the American side, coming back from some mill in Wisconsin. As the big freighters go, it was bigger than most, with the crew and good captain well seasoned, concluding some terms with a couple of steel firms when they left fully loaded for Cleveland. And later that night when the ship bells rang, could it be the north wind they've been feeling? The wind in the wires made a tattletale sound, and a wave broke over the railing. And every man knew, as the captain did too, 'twas the witch of November come stealing. The dawn came late and the breakfast had to wait when the gales of November came slashing. When afternoon came, it was freezing rain in the face of a hurricane west wind. When supper time came, the old cook came on deck, saying, "Fellows, it's too rough to feed you." At 7 p.m. a main hatchway caved in. He said, "Fellas, it's good to have known ya." The captain wired in, he had water coming in, and the good ship and crew was in peril. And later that night, when its lights went out of sight, came the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. The searchers all say they'd have made White fade if they'd put in 15 more miles behind her. They might have split up, or they might have capsized, and they might have broke deep and took water. And all that remains is the faces and names of the wives and the sons and the daughters. Lake Huron rolls and Superior sings in the rooms of her ice water mansion. Old Michigan steams like a young man's dreams, and the islands and bays are for sportsmen. And farther below, Lake Ontario, Dixon Wood, Lake Erie can send her. And the iron boats go as the mariners all know, with the gales of November, remember. In a musty old hall in Detroit they prayed, in the Maritime Sailors Cathedral. The church bell chimed till it rang 29 times for each man on the Edmund Fitzgerald. The legend lives on from the Chippewa down on the big lake they call Gitchagumi. Superior, they say, never gives up her dead when the gales of November come early. This next song has been a controversial one since its release in 1968, but it's also called one of the greatest songs of all time. It is by the Rolling Stones. It's called Sympathy for the Devil. In the song, Mick Jagger sings in first person as the devil himself, talking about things in history that he had done all the way back to Jesus Christ and the Pontius Pilate, to the Russian Revolution, to the European wars of religion. I mean, he references kings and queens fought for decades for the gods they made. He talks about John F. Kennedy, who killed the Kennedys, World War II, Blitzkrieg. And then at the end, he kind of comes around to say, after all, it was you and me, which is a way of saying the devil is not the other one, but eventually each one of us. That's what they said about their own song. But it is revered as one of the greatest songs of all time as far as writing and musicality. It's quite catchy. I guess I had heard it many times and not really realized all the history in it. But this is Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones. Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I've been around for a long, long year, stole many a man's soul and faith. And I was around when Jesus Christ had his moment of doubt and pain. Made damn sure that Pilate washed his hands and sealed his fate. Pleased to meet you, hope you guess my name. But what's puzzling you is the nature of my game. I stuck around in St. Petersburg when I saw it was time for a change. Killed the Tsar and his ministers, Anastasia screamed in vain. I rode a tank, held a general's rank when the Blitzkrieg raged and the bodies stank. Pleased to meet you, hope you guess my name. But what's puzzling you is the nature of my game. I watched you bleed while your kings and queens fought for 10 decades what gods they made. I shouted out who killed the Kennedys when after all it was you and me. Please let me introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I lay traps for troubadours who get killed before they reach the bait. Pleased to meet you, hope you guess my name. But what's puzzling you is the nature of my game. Every cop is a criminal, and all the sinners are saints. As heads as tails, just call me Lucifer, 'cause I'm in need of some saving grace. So if you meet me, have some courtesy, have some sympathy and taste. Use all your well-learned qualities, or I'll lay your soul to waste. Pleased to meet you, hope you guess my name. But what's puzzling you is the nature of my game. Pleased to meet you, hope you guess my name. But what's puzzling you is the nature of my game. This next song is relatively new. It was released in 1997 by the Cherry Poppin' Daddies. It's actually a swing song, so it's pretty catchy. I remember hearing it when I would have been 7 years old at the time, and I remember this was like the wedding song that everyone would dance to at that time. But I love the song. I actually had the CD that it came on, and it wasn't until, history class in high school that I learned what a Zoot Suit Riot is, which is the name of the song. It spoke about the Zoot Suit riots in the 1940s that were a series of racially motivated assaults between American servicemen and Mexican-American youths who had immigrated to America, mostly in California, but also Texas and a few other places. And Zoot Suits were they were actually a style of clothing, a fashion statement at the time. And that is what they wore. So here is the song about the Zoot Suit riots. Who's that whispering in the trees? It's two sailors and they're home on leave. Pipes and chains and swinging hands. Who's your daddy? Yes, I am. That cat come to play now. You can't run fast enough. You'd best stay away when the pushers come to shove. Zoot Suit Riot. Throw back a bottle of beer. Zoot Suit Riot. I pull a comb through your long black hair. Zoot Suit Riot. Throw back a bottle of beer. Zoot Suit Riot. I pull a comb through your long black hair. Jitterbug and brown-eyed man, stray cat fronting on an 8-piece band. Cut me, Sammy, and you'll understand. In my veins, hot music ran. You got me in a sway, and I want to swing you down. Now your sailors know where your women come for love. Zoot Suit Riot. Throw back the bottle of beer. Zoot Suit Riot. a bottle of beer. Zoot, zoot, riot. I pull a comb through your long black hair. Got me in a sleigh and I want to swing you down. Now you sailors know where your women come for love. Zoot, zoot, riot. Throw back a bottle of beer. Zoot, zoot, riot. I pull a comb through your long black hair. This last song was released in 1989 by Billy Joel, who is most famous for his piano playing, but this song was a massive hit for him. It is called We Didn't Start the Fire. If you feel like I missed any history between 1949 and 1989, this song is bound to catch it because basically it is a list of 100 headlines from the year that Billy Joel was born, 1949, to the year the song was released, 1989. I apologize in advance if I butcher some of the names and words because this is world history happening in this song. This is We Didn't Start the Fire. I'll slow it down a tinge from the way that he does it, hopefully so that you can hear the words a little bit better. But enjoy. We didn't start the fire. Harry Truman, Doris Day, Red China, Johnny Ray, South Pacific Winter, Wedgell, Joe DiMaggio, Joe McCarthy, Richard Nixon, Studebaker, Television, North Korea, South Korea, Marilyn Monroe. Rosenberg, S.H. Bond, Sugar Ray, Panjamon, Brando, the King and I, and the Catcher in the Rye, Eisenhower vaccine, England's got a new queen, Marciano, Liberace, Santana, goodbye. We didn't start the fire, it was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire, no we didn't light it, but we tried to fight it. Joseph Stalin, Malenkov, Nasser and Pokhara, Rockefeller, Campanella, Communist Bloc, Roy Khan, Juan Perón, Toscanini, Dacron, Duke and Peel Falls, and Rock Around the Clock, Einstein, James Dean, Brooklyn's not a winning team, Davy Crockett, Peter Pan, Elvis Presley, Disneyland, Bardo, Budapest, Alabama, Khrushchev, Princess Grace, Peyton Place, Trouble in the Suez. We didn't start the fire, it was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire, no we didn't light it, but we tried to fight it. Little Rock, Pasternak, Mickey Mantle, Carrot Chalk, Sputnik, John and Lau, Bridge on the River Cow, Lebanon, Transigal, California baseball, Stark Weather, Homicide, Children of the Thalamite, Buddy Holly, Ben Hur, Space Monkey Mafia, Hula Hoops, Castro, Edsel is a no-go, Q2, Sigmund Ray, Rayo and Kennedy, Chubby Checker, Psycho, Belgians in the Congo. We didn't start the fire, it was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire, no we didn't light it, but we tried to fight it. Hemingway, Eichen, Stranger in a Strange Land, Dylan, Berlin, Bay of Pigs invasion, Lawrence of Arabia, British Beatlemania, Ole Miss, John Glenn, listen to Beats Patterson, Pope Paul, Malcolm X, British politician sex, JFK, blown away, what else do I have to say? We didn't start the fire, it was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire, no we didn't light it, but we tried to fight it. Birth control, Ho Chi Minh, Richard Nixon back again, Moonshot, Woodstock, Watergate, Punk Rock, May 9, Reagan, Palestine, tear on the airline, Alitalia in Iran, Russians in Afghanistan, Wheel of Fortune, Rock and roll, cola wars, I can't take it anymore. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. But when we are gone, will it still burn on and 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 on? Thank you so much for joining us for Quarantunes this week. I know after that last one I'm a little out of breath. That was a lot of words, a lot of history. We covered so many things from even biblical times to more current events. And it will be very interesting to see in years to come what sort of songs and music come out of these times as well. Remember that even if the world outside is getting a little crazy, you can always hold history and love and peace in your own heart and project it out on your friends and family, the people who you see, who you're able to see, and just to keep your own fire alive inside. I hope that you really enjoyed this. Thank you, Life Enrichment, for allowing me to do this for you. I never expected to be playing music for you this long, but I absolutely love it. So thank you for bringing music into my house. I'm glad to bring it into your house. And until next week, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay singing. Bye.